The people 90.3 FM. I'm currently on the telephone with Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze, good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine, and thank you for having me on your program this evening.
Yes, Barrister, I sincerely do appreciate you joining us on the World News at 6. So, Senator Abdul Ningi called on the senators that there are about 9 northern states that he considers to be under the umbrella of a state of emergency, and saying that campaigns should not go across the states because of the volatility in terms of insecurity in that location. And in regards to insecurity, Senator Ted Cruz recently gave a marginal report at the House in the United States of America concerning the Christian genocide term and a country of particular concern ascribed to Nigeria last year. Now, Ted Cruz gave a summation that yes, they did try to give the Nigerian government a recommendation on what needs to be done to curtail the activities of these terrorists, and they are saying that one of the recommendations was an astute dedication from the Nigerian government to show commitment in prosecuting these individuals and decimating the activities in most of the volatile regions. And according to what Ted Cruz said, he said that so far they haven't seen a marginal commitment from the federal government, despite some reports of some inroads in some of these volatile areas by the Nigerian Air Force. I mean, yesterday we heard of a major decimation of these terrorists in one of the local governments in the north. What's your take on this, sir?
Well, I thank you very much. What Senator Ningi talks about 9 states, I mean, the entire northern states, the entire state in the northern region, including the middle belt states of Benue, and Plateau, Adamawa, Taraba, have very serious terror and Islamic threats in their region. So it's like the entire north is what is encapsulated by these terrorists. And Nigeria is so insecure. I mean, Nigeria is relatively insecure because of that. The issue of what Senator Ted Cruz has stated, for quite a long time, Nigerians have been thinking that America will be the solution to our insecurity issue. But sadly, it's not been the case. Nigerians have to now begin to think inwards, because it's very clear that Donald Trump has his own issues, has his own priorities, and Nigeria is not one of them. So Nigerians have to look inwards and find a way within ourselves to tackle this insecurity. And I keep on telling Nigerians, we have been going down the iris ever since the Bola Tinubu regime came into office in terms of security and in terms of the level of insecurity. So one way out of this mess is to ensure that come the next election, by whatsoever means, these characters in office are not allowed to continue to stay in office. Thank you.
All right, so the president, in his quest to continue with some of the projects which he has disclosed in 2023 in his Renewed Hope Agenda Manifesto, which obviously has to do with infrastructure, the president has sought the Senate approval for $516.3 million loan to fund part of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway project. It's not up to a month that the president also sought the Nigerian Senate to approve about $6 billion or $6 million loan, all right, as well. So would we say that, okay, these are projects, they've been part of what was in the budget, and that's basically what he's doing, because the House of Assembly members, that is the senators and House of Rep members within these particular constituencies, actually celebrated the effort and said this is long overdue. Now, for the president, it's considered a 1,000-kilometer flagship highway designed to link Nigeria's northwest to the southwest. But Barrister, here is where things get a little bit dicey. There are complaints that in the space of 4 years, his administration has borrowed more than what Muhammadu Buhari borrowed in the space of 8 years. Could it be the devaluation of the naira? What precisely do you think could be the reason why we're seeing this excessive borrowings and also unaccountability of certain funds? So yesterday, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank gave a disclosure that about 34-point-something trillion dollars got missing from Nigeria's, that is the money that is sent to the FAC allocation. So before it gets to the FAC treasury account, monies have been taken away from it. Nobody knows where the money is going to. Nobody's given any form of accountability for where the money is going to. But somehow there are leakages where these funds are being channeled to. And they say this is part of the reasons why most of the projects and sustainability programs of the administration has not been met.
Your email is your first online impression. Make it count. With GoDaddy email
of the administration has not been met.
Now, the reality is this. By the time Nigerians realize the harm the Bola Tinubu regime has done to us, it may be too late for this country. The man, he borrows for every project. For the coastal highway, there is borrowing. For the renovation of the seaport, there is borrowing. For everything, there is borrowing. You now ask yourself, this is the same regime, the same government that tells us that it has recouped so much billions from the revenue in terms of the internal revenue generation, from the customs and the exercise duties, from every. So where are all these monies going to? And it's very simple. It's being stashed for political purposes. The only thing you see this government spending money recklessly on is their city boy campaign, doling out bags of rice to constituents, just wasting funds on politics. This government, by the time Nigerians realize it, every Nigerian will be owing close to $1,000. It's already owing over $1,000 rather. And at this rate of continual borrowing, it can only be that this country will end up in a huge mess. In the last budget, in this current budget that the government says is going to run, it has appropriated 55%, about 15 trillion of the budget for debt servicing, not debt repayment, debt servicing. This is only shifting the goalposts further down, making sure that the next generation of Nigerians are born with debt hanging on their neck. And you wonder, at his age, at the age of the present, you would have thought that somebody will be acting in an altruistic manner to think of the betterment of the future. You wonder, what is he stealing all these funds for? Because these monies have been stolen. It's been stolen and used for self-aggrandizement, used to purchase mansions in different cities across the world. In how many cities will these government functionaries live in, for goodness sake? Why can't they think inwards? Why can't they think of developing Nigeria? So the reality is that all these borrowings is just to make sure that the next generation of Nigerians are born with huge debts hanging on their throat. And I don't know, unfortunately for us, the Senate, which is supposed to be approving this budget, does not even bother to read through the budget to know what is being asked for.
All right.
When the last of about $6 billion, within 3 hours, Akpabio-led Robert Stamp Senate approved everything. And this current request, without even understanding where the monies for repayments will come from. Why did it get into this mess with these characters?
But Barrister el-Rufai, it seems to be an unfortunate statistical error that this administration seems to have found itself. The problem is that they're not giving us details of how these monies are being utilized. If they say these monies are being borrowed to fulfill projects estimated by the Renewed Hope agenda as rolled out, but just in the first 6 months of President Bola Tinubu's government, he actually borrowed, just the first 6 months, 3.8 trillion naira from the Nigerian Central Bank. This was in the first 6 months. Now, the Ministry of Finance denied it by saying at the time under Wale Edu that the president had not borrowed any money. But when some checks were carried out, as of June 2023, right, what was remaining was about 4.36 trillion naira, indicating that the prior month balances were moved to the Debt Management Office. But from July 2023, the balances increased every month. First, 4.5 trillion in July, then 5.1 trillion in August, which crossed the 5.1 trillion mark for the first time in Tinubu's administration. That was just in 2023. Right now, the general borrowing of this administration has crossed the 200 trillion naira mark based on this last calculation that he's seeking from the National Assembly. At this point, what should we do?
Now, at this point, Nigerians were really aware of the magnitude of this debt being planned for Nigerians. I mean, it will call for a revolution. It will call for public protest. Because the reality is that if we're even seeing where these monies are being deployed to, if we are seeing what these funds are being used for, then they just say, eventually we will overcome. It is for the national good. But unfortunately, these funds are being deployed to waste, are being deployed to white elephant projects. Why do I call even this so-called signature project white elephants? They were not properly bidded. They were not properly. like the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway.
Yeah.
It was just announced less than a month into the administration. There was no public bidding. It was just given to the friends of this government. It was given, the contract was given to this Chakori fellow,
Yes.
where company that has the son of the president on the board without bidding, without passing through due process. The same thing with Badagry to Sokoto Highway. So you will discover that these funds are being filtered away, are being looted. So if the borrowings were for altruistic purposes, we will say yes, in the next 5-10 years, we will recoup the benefits of this borrowing and be able to pay these debts. But these loans are being used to pay for waste. So it's clearly going to be a problem for Nigeria. And then, like I keep on saying, if Nigerians really know how much they are being made to pay back for fraudulent projects, Nigerians, the whole country will erupt. But we don't want Nigeria to erupt. What we want is to hold these characters who are rulers accountable. Ask your senators, why did they keep on approving this project? Ask your members of the House of Reps, what have they done to checkmate the profligacy of this regime? Because this nonsense must stop. And it appears as it is that 2027 may be too far. Because when Mr. Tinubu borrowed the last money to pay for this court renovations, we thought that should be his last. But you see him bringing another loan request for a humongous sum. And one thing Nigerians should realize is this: most of these requests are unconstitutional and fraudulent. Why do I say so? They are requests that are made to pay for contracts already signed. That is, you are giving, it's like retroactive. You've already borrowed the money and you are now coming to the National Assembly to approve it. This is not what the Nigerian Constitution provides. It provides that before you expend all the funds, before you sign on to contracts, there must have been appropriation. But in this case, we have the contract done first before coming to borrow, and this is wrong. So hopefully the next government that comes into power, that comes into office in this country, will recall these loans, trace out who and who gave them, because even those who are giving these loans know that they are involved in fraud. Like the loan that we are giving to the Citibank for the Lagos Port project. The Citibank executives know that they are getting engaged in fraud. Nigerians ultimately don't have to pay for this fraudulent loan. A good Nigerian government will come and say, we are not paying, because you that gave this fund know you are giving to a fraudulent government that was deep rooted in fraud.
Good, positive, childish.
That was deep rooted in fraud.
All right.
Thank you.
Barrister Eze-Luche, a Kaduna State High Court has refused bail application filed by the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir el-Rufai. They cited the gravity of the allegations and concerns over possible interference with investigations. And so Justice Kobo delivered ruling that on April 21, 2026, in the case instituted by the federal government through the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, that the case would not favor any form of bail at this stage. They cited grievous circumstances committed by el-Rufai. The prosecution counsel said that el-Rufai obstructed them in February when they wanted to take him in for questioning, while el-Rufai's counter was that he voluntarily left Egypt and came to Nigeria to honor the EFCC's request, and that they are with his international passport. They can monitor his movement, meaning that he's not a flight risk, and can attend his court cases anytime he needs to appear in court. But so far, he also cited ill health, and the court denied him all of this. The prosecuting counsel said no, that he did not present any valid, medical report to indicate he has any illness whatsoever. So my question is this: el-Rufai has denied that he did not wiretap the NSA's phone, because that's one of the major reasons they're keeping him in custody. And the question was, why did he make such a statement on national television that he wiretapped the NSA's conversation? 2, an aide to el-Rufai was also apprehended today and kept in custody. Most of his aides and allies have been imprisoned. el-Rufai will stay in jail up until June for an accelerated hearing from the first week, 1, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of June. That's what the justice actually inclined today. How do you see this scenario? Could you call this a political manipulation and witch hunt, or the law is taking its course on el-Rufai's case?
Thank you very much. I think this is the exemplary case of political manipulation of the judiciary to silence a major opposition figure. It will be very dangerous for the opposition if they think it's el-Rufai that is the issue here. I have not been able, the reality is that el-Rufai is being targeted because he became an outspoken critic of the Bola Tinubu regime. And all these stories about him being a flight risk is not true. Even the reasons given that he resisted arrest. That was when they tried to arrest him at the airport without a warrant. Any reasonable person should resist just such arrest. Now, the offense is being charged for. It's not treason. It's not a capital offense where the penalty is death or life imprisonment. It is a bailable offense. It is the duty of the court to give bail as soon as possible, maybe with very stringent conditions or whatsoever. But to postpone the bail condition, the bail hearing, and say that it's being in detention until June, it's almost like an imprisonment. It's almost like a presumption of guilt. And I will urge all opposition political parties to rise up, because it is el-Rufai today. Tomorrow, it can be any other opposition figure. And once the Tinubu regime sees that they are getting away with this mess, they will try someone else. And then the issue becomes, if he kept quiet when it was el-Rufai, why would he not rise up if it is back? For instance, Atiku Abubakar or Peter Obi? Because they would dare Nigerians. They would not dare you until you tell them to stop this nonsense. I mean, it's rather that the judiciary is allowing itself to be used in this manner. But then I also stumbled across a rather odd part of this whole process. I have been made to understand that the presiding judge, that the prosecutor, and even the commission being used to prosecute Madam el-Rufai are all members of the Shia sect of Islam, while el-Rufai himself is Sunni. But there is undertone to this, and this one should be explored. But there is simply no reason why you have to put as a suspect, because that's what it is. He's just a defendant in a criminal case, to remain in custody till June, when you now order accelerated hearing. If there should have been accelerated hearing, it should start immediately. But clearly, the prosecutors are not even ready to prosecute. So you just want to get him out of circulation for this period. And they are succeeding because so far, el-Rufai has missed out on the Congress of his political party, the African Democratic Congress. And he likely also miss out from even opportunity to even aspire for whatsoever office. Maybe he wants to aspire for presidency or whatsoever, he will also miss that opportunity. So they would have succeeded in what they are doing by engaging him. Then by June, I assure you, they're not asking to go, because there's nothing that is necessitating this being the same. Like they also asking to go, the reason to bury. If you can release el-Rufai to go and mourn or bury his mother, and he did not run away, what is the justification of this Islam? And then you must detain him in June. You see, at that time, when they make some of these pronouncements, I don't know if they think they're just as stupid. I mean, that we cannot connect the dots. You allow a man to go and to release from prison without even a court order to go and mourn and bury his mother. Then you now come and pick him up, and you come with this silly excuse that it's a flight risk. If it was a flight risk, you would see him after the mother's burial. He will leave the country, or he stayed back. So they should stop all this crap about being a flight risk and allow him to on bail. And other opposition parties should take it at their own cost. With regards to el-Rufai's pronouncement that he had access to the telecommunication gadgets of the NSA or whoever.
Yeah, that he wiretapped the NSA's conversation.
Yes, wiretapped. How did they know whether it was not by spiritual means? They didn't know it was not by invocation.
He said it himself. The anchor asked him that, that's a crime. He said, yes, he knows, but the federal government wiretaps into people's conversations. That was his defense on that day.
Let them establish it in court. I mean, that is what the courts are for.
But he's denying it now. He's denying it now that he never had done anything like that. So why come on national television to make such a dastardly claim?
Let us not try him on air.
No, we're not trying him. It's just logic. We're logically reasoning this.
Yes, I agree. But what I'm trying to say is this. If you have a case against him, take him to court and initiate prosecution. and not dump him in prison and say it's a flight risk till June. And by June, his own political party, the African Democratic Congress, would have finished the selection of candidates. So that is what he's being kept away from, and that is most unfortunate and should not be allowed in a democratic environment. It's sad that the Bola Tinubu regime, who claimed to be a Democrat, who claimed to be a kingpin of Nadeko.
Boost your hospitality business